I'm honored to be here. I'd like to thank Maria for inviting me to share my thoughts, my experience. Honored to be here with experts, engineers, professional farmers, all of which I am none of. So why am I here? What I am is I'm a musician, that's all. I have no expertise in any area. Never even really considered myself an environmentalist or an activist in any way. And I moved up here, and I live in Sullivan County, Pennsylvania. I moved up here from the Philadelphia area about 10 years ago because I wanted to raise my son in a clean, safe environment. That was a promise that I had made to his mother, my wife, who died in 1998 of cancer that was related to DDT, where she grew up in New Jersey. When I moved to Northeast Pennsylvania, I thought I had left all that behind. Then the landman came and knocked on my door and asked me if I wanted to lease my land for gas drilling. I didn't know anything about it, but I just said no anyway. Just wasn't interested. I was pretty much indifferent to it. Then I started seeing what was happening with other people. I started doing some research. I saw what was happening down in Texas, in Oklahoma, in Colorado, Arkansas, and I noticed that these were the same stories, the same environmental issues, the same health issues, same public safety issues. Then I started poking my nose down in Washington County and Bradford County, Susquehanna County, and saw what was going on there. And I have to admit that when I first met some of these people who were affected, I thought some of them were a little crazy. I thought it just sounded too unbelievable. Now here it is 4 years later, and I sound just as crazy as they do. And they're not crazy. And I don't think I am yet. However, what I'd like to, I'm going to probably maybe go stray a little off the reservation here. Maria knows I do. And just so you know, Maria, I kept my promise. Against my better judgment.
What?
That you made me promise.
Well,
No.
I'm scared to say it out loud.
Anyway, I like to talk about the what's going on politically, the influence that the industry has on our politics, and I'm going to probably lay it out in plainer terms than some others have. I call it, in Pennsylvania, we've got pay to play. That's what it is. The industry, the natural gas industry, has spent $23 million and counting just on campaign funds and gifts to the legislators. They do this for regulatory approval. They do this through their lobbyists. That's what they call this now. They call it lobbying. Yeah. Because bribery sounds too illegal. But that's what it is. We have to call it what it is. It's bribery. We heard about Act 13. Act 13 is a joke. I served on the Citizens Marcellus Shale Commission. Last year, I had traveled around the state with some state representatives, some scientists, people, you know, it's a very diverse group. Clergy, and we were taking testimony and listening to various stories, and our position, or I should say our image, was on neither side of the issue. We were just gathering information. And again, it was the same horror stories. I worked with some incredible people for 6 months on drafting the Citizens Marcellus Shale report in an attempt to get real regulation, meaningful regulation, and still allowing for some development of this industry in a responsible way in which they would be held accountable. It's okay. We had really thought that presenting this to Governor Corbett and the legislators would mean that we would give them a way to balance the industry and still protect the people in the best way they could. These were real regulations. They were doable, they were practical, they were enforceable, and they allowed the development of the industry, like I said. It was last January when we presented these to Governor Corbett and the General Assembly. It was received by some. For the most part, Governor Corbett just wiped his feet on them. Senator Scarnati and Patrick Henderson and Michael Krancer from the DEP simply just said, no thank you, not interested. We will write our own. What they did was they took model legislation that the industry presented. The industry wrote it, they wrote it in their favor. That's what got passed. Like Tracy had said earlier, you know, the setbacks, they don't mean anything, because with all the industry has to do is present a plan and request a waiver, and according to the Act 13 legislation, it must be approved. Not maybe, must be, will be. It's a guarantee. What we did is we sold the state out. I have heard from different legislators and even some what I call rent-a-profs from institutes like Penn State, where there is going to be, with any industrial activity, certain sacrifices that will have to be made, certain unintended consequences. Now, when the landmen came and knocked at my door, they never said, would you like to make a supreme sacrifice and sacrifice your family so your neighbor can make a buck? They never asked me that. Some of the unintended consequences are environmental, health, public safety issues, your sense of community, loss of land use, loss of property value, loss of life. I have personally been to visit too many people who I've come to know who have become ill. I've attended a few funerals of people in this area who are victims of this industry. And I guess because of my own personal experience, that hit home to me. You don't know, and I hope no one ever knows what it's like to have to tell your 5-year-old son your mom just died. You know, I had to do that. I don't want anyone else to have to do that, which is why I'm speaking out, which is why I show up at these things, why I'm fighting back. Again, maybe I'm nuts because this has been, it's costing me right now. I've become a pariah in my community because I'm trying to steal their money. I don't want them to make money. I have been virtually threatened by landmen and people in the industry because I refused to sign. They said, well, name your price. I said, you buy my house. Buy me out of the state and it's yours. But I will never share my land with you. A few weeks ago, some of you people here know this, some of you have seen it, but on a rainy Friday night, my porch caught fire.
Imagine that.
I've gotten phone calls saying that I need to stop talking, I have to stop speaking out, accidents happen. Well, I'm not one who's easily intimidated. I grew up in Philadelphia. So I'm over all that. So, you know, when I look at New York and I look at Maryland and I look at Vermont and then I look at Pennsylvania and I say the difference between those states and Pennsylvania is the people. Their politicians aren't any less corrupt than ours. But the people in those states stand up, they speak out, they take to the street, they show up at their capitals, and they say, we're not going to do this. We're not going to allow you to do this, and if you try it, you're out of a job. In Pennsylvania, I've spent the last few years, with all due respect to some of the people and organizations in this room, attending lobbying events and signing petitions. They don't care. The only thing that is going to make a difference, and if you look at history, go back to the American Revolution till now, the American Revolution, slavery, women's rights, civil rights, child labor laws, nothing is going to change until the people here decide we're not going to put up with it, and you take out into the street. I'm not advocating violence. I'm advocating direct resistance. That's the only thing they're going to listen to. I'm convinced of that. The only conversation I think we need to have is, are we going to fight for what is ours and what our rights are, or are we going to roll over and just get out of their way? Because there's nothing in between. You're not going to manage this business. And thanks for letting me ramble.